That's how I've recorded them the whole time. I'm a bourbon and cigar connoisseur. As long as the bourbon's made in Kentucky and it's 6 years old, I'm in. Married with 5 children, and my favorite child is my grandson. Hear me? Favorite child is my grandson. You know what I'm saying? Because those 5 children are all adults now. Screw them. Anyway, I'm also a word of mouth marketing specialist. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So a little bit about my word of mouth marketing story. Now, the pandemic was difficult for everyone. Okay. As an entrepreneur, when the pandemic hit, I had been in business for 12 years. And when I started in 2008, I took my first membership the same week the market was melting and the Great Recession was taking place right in front of our eyes. And so at that point in 12 years, I'd been through the recession and then now going through a pandemic. So July 2021 was pretty important as well. Back then was a very challenging time. If I can just kind of connect with you on this. So I don't have a degree to fall back on. I don't have nothing but hustle and this really rare trait called tenacity to overcome things, to bear, to get up and dust my knees off and just keep moving forward. And so in July of 21, I basically was looking around the room. We had 7 B2B virtual meetings, which you don't know what those are yet, which is fine. It's no problem. But we had 7 virtual meetings, and we had a whole lot of discombobulated in-person meetings at that time. Very discombobulated. Everything was just so messy, right? And so with 7 B2B groups and only 100 members in our B2B program overall, how do I expand this? The truth of the matter is that back then, all that was left was I had to make a choice. And so throughout 2020, when we were kind of growing it, people were helping us grow it, of course, and I was not by myself, but things were not working in terms of being able to grow. And we grew a little bit, but nothing to brag home, write home about. You know what I mean? It was just a little at a time, and that's okay, and that's all good. But something had to be done. And so I went on this journey where I started going to other networking groups and doing all these one-to-ones again. But this time, when I geared up to 30 one-to-ones a week. And I did 30 one-to-ones a week all the way until this past March. And then I look back and I'm like, holy moly. Present day, we have so much going on. I've become a word-of-mouth marketing strategist. This is my gift. This is, not my purpose in life, but this is my talent. And so for those of you who may be curious, my purpose in life is to lift people, value others by lifting them up, uniting them, and taking no credit. Okay, so that's my purpose in life. H7 just happens to be a vehicle. My specialty in the marketplace just happens to be a vehicle. And so those 2 years or so were pretty tumultuous. And so to keep moving forward is a big deal. But here's the thing. I didn't move forward by myself, actually. So I deployed this strategy, and I still deploy this strategy today. This is my strategy. My word-of-mouth marketing strategy is to successfully complete 15 plus connect, serve, and ask one-to-ones per week. And then, of course, follow my funnel. Now, some of you know what that is, I'm sure. My next part of my strategy is to make outbound introductions 50 plus per week, period. There's no misses. There's no misses on the 15 plus. There is no misses. This is part of my strategy. Schedule and meet with my trusted relationships for 30 to 60 minutes per month. There is no miss. It is part of the strategy. So there's no let's take this month off. The strategy has to be deployed. And the last piece of this is I treat all my prospects and connections all the same. Everybody gets a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one with me. Period. There is no moving around. There is no switching over to, I'm going to sell you something now. It is solid. Now, keep in mind how many times I've done a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one. And before I go through this next part, I want to just see if anybody has any questions to date so far. Any comments or anything that you'd like to add?
Why are you so discriminatory against Texas bourbon?
Because most bourbons these days are made as cocktail bourbons. And so they're typically distilled much faster, brought to market much faster than your average straight bourbon. That's it. It's the only reason. I'm not against Texas bourbon, though, if it makes you feel any better. I'm not against Texas bourbon alone. It's a 49 state kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing. So I have had Texas bourbon. What's that one that's made in Austin or whatever? Long Branch?
Yeah, there's Long Branch. I personally like Garrison Brothers.
Well, I haven't had that one. See, I haven't had that one. But I do prefer the bourbon to be at least 6 years old, and it must be naturally stored in a bourbon barrel for those 6 years. I know of bourbon distillers that will chemically enhance the process to speed it up, and I understand that thought. But to me, oftentimes, it tastes like hand sanitizer. That's it. I like the taste of real bourbon, neat, no ice, just alkaline water, and go to town. So that's it. So I apologize if I've made you feel like I'm discriminating against Texas bourbon.
Not at all. Not at all. Just you encouraged questions, so that was the burning question I had.
I do, however, love Texas oil. I will say that, okay? I will say that.
I think we all do.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for playing. I appreciate that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the CSA, where that came from, just briefly before I jump in here. Connect, serve, and ask are the three fundamentals to a one-to-one between two people. Okay. Where we connect with one another, we serve one another, and we ask of one another. That's where that comes from. It took me 3,000 one-to-ones to actually develop that process originally, that method originally. So results to date, I receive over 100 introductions in my inbox every month. And I've been getting that since somewhere around December of 21. That's a lot. Okay. Number two, I have 80 plus trusted relationships. That is a lot. That is a lot. In 2023, we grew our revenues by 18% via word of mouth marketing. That's a nice growth for literally hand-to-hand relationship combat, whatever you want to call it. And word of mouth marketing tends to be the least expensive version of marketing. Not that any other marketing is bad in any way, but that's just my specialty. At this point, we also now have 18 on my staff. And in July of 21, we had 3. We also have 3 new strategic relationships this year. We have 15 new groups pending right now in our pipeline. We currently have 39 B2B virtual meetings a week and over 1,000 members in 47 states and 11 countries, all grown by word of mouth. Let's discuss referral marketing, word of mouth marketing, and business networking. There's a difference between all 3. Referral marketing is in layman's terms, instead of this fancy stuff I have on the screen, in layman's terms is basically marketing where your clients are referring you business, right? That's what I mean by referral marketing. Word of mouth marketing is different, and so is business networking. So here's how I've kind of summed this up and organized this, okay? So referral marketing is showing your clients who you are, and they endorse you. And we all enjoy the fruits of that, right? In some way or another. Word of mouth marketing is showing other professionals who you are, and they endorse you. And finally, business networking is telling others who you are and hoping they will endorse you. Does that make sense to everybody? Can you see the clarity and all that between the differences? One's not better than the other. I will say this, one's not better than the other, but I am partial to word of mouth marketing. I mean, when an introvert starts up a business networking group in a small town in Midwest United States, and he's introverted at the same time, sometimes we need to figure out how to overcome certain obstacles right from the beginning. So anyway, so which would you prefer? Word of mouth marketing or business networking? So I can go back, but I can try to say it as well. Word of mouth marketing is where you show professionals who you are and they endorse you. Business networking is telling others who you are and hoping they'll endorse you. Which one would you prefer?
I'm not on the hope.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
Word of mouth. Okay, would anybody prefer business networking? I can only see certain people on the screen, you know what I mean? So I can't tell. All right. Well, I'm going to show you a little bit about word of mouth marketing, and it is a strategy, just like business networking is a strategy as well. And business networking is not bad. Word of mouth marketing is not bad, but it's a choice. And it's a choice that you make, and then you go with it. Okay. So here we go. In order to unlock your word of mouth marketing strategy, it does begin with connect, serve, and ask one-to-ones. This is where it starts. There is no other starting point. This is the starting point. Now, after tonight, Coach is going to send you a presentation that has even more in it. I am not going to bore you with all those details in this presentation, but I wanted to make sure that you had as much information as possible in the presentation, in that email, so you can actually use some of it, okay? So that's what I did. So as we're moving through this part of the process, feel free to interrupt me, okay? So connect, serve, and ask. So when you perform a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one, you obviously connect first, okay? You serve the other person, and then you ask the other person. Does that make sense? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Does?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay. Now I'm going to break this down a little bit, but again, more of it will be inside that email that he sends you, okay? Because to be transparent, connect, serve, and ask, there's actually a certification that goes with it that our members can take. They watch the videos, they answer the questions. We even have a technique review for application purposes. So just as you guys are going, as we're going through this, I also put my scheduling link in that presentation. So if anybody wishes to talk about that, there is no cost to have a conversation or have a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one. Be happy to share, okay? Just want to set the tone for that. All right, so serve intentionally, ask consciously. Some misconceptions about one-to-ones. Has anybody on this call been pitch slapped? You know what I mean by pitch slap?
Yes.
Okay, yes. That means you went into a one-to-one, you're like, da-da-da-da-da, I'm going to build a relationship with this person, and then whack, they're trying to sell you something. You know what I'm talking about? And they spend the 20 minutes that they're with, the first 20 minutes trying to sell you not only themselves, but they may not shut up long enough to even ask you about yourself. And all of a sudden, it's been 20 minutes, and now you're buying something and signing up for something and didn't even know it. Pitch slap, that's what that is, okay? So that is a misconception. That is not the design of a one-to-one. That might be how they have evolved, but that is not what it needs to be. So that is a misconception. So if you have the connect, serve, and ask fundamentals down, you can actually manage that situation. But if you go into a regular one-to-one and somebody's pitch slapping you, it might be a little bit more difficult, but you can get through it. Oftentimes the pitch slapper doesn't even know what they're doing. So just keep that in mind, right? They just may not know what they're doing. Any questions about that? Okay. I will give you a bolo though. There is a gentleman out there that's teaching people how to pitch slap. I met him about 3 weeks ago. I swear, as I'm living and breathing, he attends Alignable. Now I'm not going to say his name, but I'm just saying he is all in Alignable. Okay, so we meet for this 1-to-1, and we're starting to connect. And I'm like, "So tell me about yourself." And he says, "I'm a networking coach." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Tell me about that." And he says, "Well, I show people how to network better and this and that." I said, "Well, like I train people on word of mouth marketing, and there might be some similarities. Maybe there's some crossovers and stuff." And I'm just genuinely being curious. He's like, "So tell me what yours is about." And I said, "Man, I have 7 hours of word of mouth marketing training somebody can take, and then they can build trusted relationships, and then they can create predictable results." He said, "Me too." And I said, "What? Are you serious? You help them create predictable results? I've not met anybody else. This is awesome. Tell me about that." He says, "Oh yeah, I teach people how to go to one networking event and walk away with sales appointments and sell their stuff right then and there, very predictably." I said, "Holy crap, I met the guy who's teaching everybody how to pitch slap." So anyway, all right, so back to the business. All right, so there's a mindset that's required for this connect, serve, and ask 1-to-1. The mindset is establish trust. You go into your 1-to-1s looking to establish trust. Make sense, everybody? Go ahead.
I have a question, Clay.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you do the serve intentionally, do you ask about the serving? So to me, it kind of would be connect, ask, and serve, because you have, and if you're going to serve intentionally, you need to know what that person needs. So you have to ask questions.
Yeah. So what I mean, sorry, I can't see your name.
Victoria.
Sorry, it was covered up. Sorry. Victoria. So what I'm saying is you connect each other, both of you talk, get to know each other. Okay. And then at a certain time, it's time to flip the script. It's time to shift the conversation. And how you shift that conversation is saying, "Victoria, I appreciate you meeting with me. How can I help you? Who would you like to meet?" Intentionally. You will rock that person across from you, and they will be 100% paying attention. They will stop in their tracks. They will desire to help, and they will listen to what you got to say. And then when you're done serving them, then you can ask for what you're looking for consciously.
So this process could be like weeks or months.
No, 30 minutes. What do you mean? No.
I
Right.
guess because I'm kind of confused on the serve part, because when you say serve, I think of actually providing a service that that person that I'm trying to connect with needs from me. Like, how can I serve you? Meaning, what is it? How can I add value to you? And so when I think of serve, I think of giving value and doing that over a period of time.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, Victoria. So if you and I were in a 1-to-1 and we had 30 minutes scheduled, about 10, 12, 15 minutes into that call, you're going to hear me say, "Victoria, how can I help you? Who would you like to meet? Who can I introduce you to? How can I help you?"
So that's like to me, in my mind, that's the abbreviated version of serve. Because you're meaning like right now, what can I give to you in this moment for value to add value to you at a later moment? So it's like an abbreviated service.
Well, I mean, you have to follow through too.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm just getting caught up with the word serve. So I got you. I understand what you're saying now. I'm clear. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No problem. No problem. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, good. All right. Strategically connect. I'm just going to give you one. The key element to connecting with somebody else, one of the main key elements is active listening. Active listening. Is everybody kind of familiar with what active listening means? So you want to remember that. By the way, it says on the screen there's a bunch more stuff in there, okay? In the email or in the presentation. Be of service to others. If you wish to strategically serve, you must be a person that has decided, I'm going to be of service. That is part of the process. How can I help you? Who would you like to meet? Be of service. Like for a while, I probably faked it till I made it, right? So how can I help you? And I had to work really hard to make that work. Now it's much more natural. So whoever meets with me, more or less, I'm going to serve them. I will be of service, and there'll be nothing else but to be of service. Not to be of service because they're going to do something back for me. Being of service, that's an attitude. That's a mindset. This is who we are. And so, any questions about that one? Cool.
So Clay, just for clarification, being of service to others, that means that you're doing it with no expectation of any payment in return.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because when you get here to this next one, strategically ask. Okay. So on the surface, this looks a little transactional. And I know that, right? Being of service, who you are, not expecting anything in return. Now, this is going to look a little like a contradiction. Okay. Because now I'm going to ask. Okay. Here's the deal. If the entire goal or the entire strategy behind a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one is to establish trust, I didn't say that only I get to earn trust and that other person doesn't. I didn't say that. Establishing trust, mutually beneficial. So you ask strategically because when you don't, you take the power away from the other person being able to earn your trust. You swipe it, steal it, it's gone. They do not have the chance. Now, typically altruistic people have a tendency to do this, and they do it because they're people of service. And then they forget about themselves. And then down the road, it causes burnout, and it causes problems for them. And that's okay. I know because I did it. It took me 2,500 one-to-ones before I began to ask. 2,500 one-to-ones. Don't put yourself in that position. You might as well start asking now and understand why you're asking. So the easiest way for you to ask is in the form of company or industry. If you're B2B, if you are B2C, you will ask for type of person. Now, that'll all be in that presentation, okay? And like I said, if you guys want to meet to discuss that, we can do that. Any questions about that? Now, Kathy, I do want to double check with you. Did that make sense about why the ask, even though I'm being of service without expecting anything in return?
Yes, it did make sense. And your explanation as to why you do it is, I think, dead on, because you don't want them to think you don't trust them. Otherwise, why are you going through the whole process?
Yeah. The whole process is about building trusted relationships, right? If you want people,
you don't want them to feel like they've just wasted 30 minutes of their time, and everybody's time is worth something.
That's right.
No matter how it's valued, dollars, commissions, whatnot, everybody's time is valuable, and you don't want to feel like you've just wasted it. Like you go and you do these networking events and you feel you get nothing for it. You go for 6 months, you get nothing for it. You've given all the referrals gotten nothing back. You're like, I've just wasted all this time.
Oh yeah. I bet I meet with 6 or 7 people a week easily that don't get much in return from their time they spend networking and whatever group, it doesn't matter. And this solves that problem because now we're empowering them. We're saying, hey, Kathy, if you just take this, if you understand why you would take this and understand what you can get out of this by taking this certification, now you've been empowered to stop that madness. That's what it does. All right, anybody else before I move on? We only got like 4 minutes left. We're almost done.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. All right, so I want to give you guys a strategic plan for yourself. The objective in mind of opening up your word of mouth marketing revenue. Now, I put a very conservative low number in there, 10%. Now, the average person, when they're out there business networking, they say, well, I spent $400 this year on this group, and well, I made 5,000, so that's good. That's good. But if you look at word of mouth marketing, there's a difference here. You know, I heard today somebody celebrating at 1 o'clock today that an H7 member referred him to somebody else, and 2 people later, he already closed his first deal of the year. It's the 4th. And if you look at that in a word of mouth marketing perspective, now he made thousands of dollars on the deal. I know what he does. I know a bunch of they charge. I understand the concept behind that. But 70% of all his business comes from his word of mouth marketing inside of H7. And he does pretty well. That's one way to look at it, where you're trying to increase your revenue by 10% just in word of mouth. You can do that. And this is how you can do that. Okay. So I'm going to give you a list of steps, a strategy that hopefully you can deploy. 3+ CSA one-to-ones per week, and follow your relationship funnel. So you want to make sure that your relationships are organized. Okay. Now, it's important that you're doing a connect, serve, and ask one-to-one. So steal what I have put in that email for you and try to apply to the best of your ability. Okay. That's why it's there, to be of service, so you guys can use it. Next is make outbound introductions weekly. I would recommend that you do your very best to get up to 3 per person that you meet with. To do your best to get up to 3. So for every person you meet with, you do your best to get up to 3 opportunities or introductions that you can make to them. Now, there's other ways you can help people, and we can talk about that in our one-to-one if you schedule it. But it will be more what your expertise is in serving them from that level. But just keep in mind, like, try to do 3 introductions per one-to-one that you meet with. Schedule and meet with your trusted relationships for 30 to 60 minutes per month, every 4 to 6 weeks, 30 to 60 minutes per month. Okay. And when you're with them, be productive. Be prepared. Show up prepared for those meetings, who you want to meet. Go to their LinkedIn. Find 10 people on there that you want to meet. Be productive in that meeting when you're with them. Lastly, do your very best to treat your prospects and connections all the same. So as you begin practicing the CSA method, try that with everybody you meet with, creating consistency around that. Any questions about that?
Like, on the trusted relationships, is that current clients, making sure you're touching base, or is that also maybe mentors or just people within your circle, I guess other business owners that you have good relationships with?
That's exactly what I mean, but not your clients though.
They're not clients. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying your clients. So just think outside of your clients. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because these would be people that when you're with them, you will connect, serve, and ask them. Now you can do that with your clients as well, but that's referral marketing. I'm not getting into that, if that makes sense. Right. I'm going to stay in my lane there, but yeah. Other comments or questions before we do the last piece?
Well, based on what I do reach out to my clients, and I do sort of do a CSA, and it's not because I want more business from them. It's because I want to make sure that if they have an issue or a situation that they don't know where to go, I can be the resource for them. And so it's not necessarily that I want a referral from them. It's more of being of service to them and giving them the opportunity to, I guess, recognize that in some other way, or to understand that it's not because I want to put their money in my pocket.
Totally understand that, Kathy. Totally understand that. Yep. In this case, when I was talking about the trusted relationship, so I'm not talking about your clients. So I get that. So good job on what you're doing with your client, though. I don't want to take away from that. So good job on that. But
I
So-
have a question as well. This is Patrice.
yes, ma'am.
So, I think the hard part for me is trying to find the right people to connect to the people that I'm having the one-on-one with. So
Yeah.
I'm relatively new to the industry, and the bubble is kind of small. Like when I go to events, everybody knows each other. It's the same folks.
Yeah.
So what suggestions do you have for that?
So that's probably more of a full conversation, Patrice. So I do hope that you grab my scheduling link in the presentation and schedule with me, but I'll try to do my best here very quickly. Okay. What I think I understand you saying is that your network's not very big right now. Does that pretty much sum it up?
That's right.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. It does take time to build your network. So I don't want to take away from that. In the meantime, Patrice, I recommend that if you're going to serve someone, if it's okay to try and say, hey, Patrice, who would you like to meet? And then they say, hey, I want to meet this realtor. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that one, right? It's okay. It's okay, right? But serving them is not always in the form of introductions. Serving them is asking how you can help. Leveraging your talents, Patrice. You have skill, you have talent, you have a past, you have collected information over the last, we'll just say 20 years. And so with that, leverage that. Ask them questions and active listen to questions that you can answer. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
okay, so if I can't make it, sometimes when I meet with people, they want to know more about how to build their business by word of mouth. So I will jump in and help them with that. That does happen because that's where my talent is. So use your talents and then ask them. I will literally say, so are you having any issues with your networking? Because I can answer that question. So your talent may be other marketing pieces. I'm sorry, I don't know you well enough to speak to that, but maybe it's marketing, maybe it's administration, maybe it's back office stuff, maybe it's organization. I don't know. Whatever it is you're skilled at. Ask them if they need help with that stuff. That's still being of service until your network gets bigger. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. So just to finish up, guys, and I know we're out of time here, it'll be fast. So I just want you to reflect on these questions. Now there's more questions on the presentation and the email. But here's just a good start for you to think of. As you're moving out into 2024, how many one-to-ones do you want to actually have per week or per month? Like, look at that. If you have a plan to grow your business, word of mouth marketing is a way to grow your business. So you might as well have a plan for that too, right? How many introductions do you make in your one-to-ones currently? Oh, 0. All right. Well, let's turn that machine on. How many trusted relationships do you really have right now? And when I say trusted relationships, I mean a mentor. I mean a coach Hess. I mean somebody that you trust that's not your existing client. That's all I mean. Okay, that's it. So just somebody you trust that you can go to and you can ask them for help. You give them a shot to ask you for help, things like that. Mutually beneficial, trusted relationship. This is how you contact me on the last slide as it comes out. And I'm forever grateful. Thank you for having me today. I hope there was a lot of value there.
Fine. Thank you, Clay. Appreciate it, buddy. Good work.
My pleasure.